We're going to start this review a little differently. I want you to do an exercise with me. Close your eyes. I'm going to do this with you. I want you to imagine the perfect car. Think of what it looks like. Think of its shape. Think of its engine. Think of its interiors. Think of the drivetrain layout. Imagine what it feels like to drive. Do you have an image in your head? I'd love to know what you imagine. Write your answers in the comments below. Me, I imagine a very simple car. A coupe, rear-wheel drive, a nice powerful engine, a manual transmission. Perfect. Which brings me to this, the BMW M2. It is pretty much all of that. It is compact. It has a rear-wheel drive layout. It has a punchy engine. And this particular car here, it has a manual transmission. Now before I start driving, I need to talk to you about the styling. There's no option about that because the styling has been a huge talking point on this new BMW M2. On the face of it, do I like it? I'm not so sure. There are things about it that I like, but it doesn't feel cohesive enough to me. I love this bonnet, this bulge on the bonnet. It looks so good. I actually don't really mind the grills either. I think they have a really nice shape. They're not enlarged, oversized grills like on the M4 or the M3. But stuff like this, the squared off bumper, I'm not too much of a fan of that. That continues on the side. I'm a big fan of those bulging arches. Over the front wheels, they bulge nicely. Over the rear haunches, they really look very, very nice. It's such an old school touch to this BMW M2. Over at the rear as well, the way the roofline tapers into that boot-lid spoiler, it looks absolutely phenomenal. But then below that, you've got those chunky bumpers again. And again, I think those bumpers look incredibly out of place on the BMW M2's design. The M2's shape, the stance of it is unreal. It's beautiful, it's perfection. But the details, the highlights, the stuff in the bumpers, certain elements here and there, I don't think they fit. But you know what? It doesn't matter because when you're inside the car, you're not looking at it, you're driving it. And the BMW M2 is a car that loves to be driven. Okay, here we are driving the BMW M2. First impressions, super sharp, super reactive. Everything about it is just dialed in. So you've got that engine, that beautiful motor, 3-liter straight 6 engine. So old school BMW in the concept of it, right? Big straight 6 in the body of a coupe, and it feels absolutely sublime. It's got so much punch. The engine makes 453 bhp, which is actually nearly 50 horsepower more than the previous M2 competition. This is not even the competition variant. This is the base M2 with a manual transmission. That makes 50 horsepower more than the older M2 competition. It has got punch. The engine, it sounds so smooth when you rev it out. It's got this big chestedness to it, this bellow that comes from deep within the car. That makes it absolutely wonderful to rev out. And there's so much performance on tap midway through the throttle travel, and I'm already going too fast for the roads over here. If you're going pedal to the metal, you've got some big balls. Power delivery is just immediate. You know, you've got a little bit of lag at the bottom end, but about 2,500 RPM in, then you've got a flat torque curve almost till the red line. So once you're past that initial lag, and you feel it a little bit with the manual because occasionally the revs do drop below boost, but once you pick it up above that boost, then you're just flying. It's a rocket ship. Just listen to that. Phenomenal. This is a small car, but it has big power, and you feel that every step of the way. The refinement, top-notch, 6 cylinders, perfectly balanced. It just sounds sublime. There's no vibrations, there's nothing but just beautiful sound, turbocharged sound. You can feel that punch and you can feel it go. Then there's the highlight of this car. I mean, the manual transmission. How many cars, luxury cars today, have manuals? Sure, the Porsches do them, but the Porsches, the manuals are exorbitantly priced. This won't be exorbitantly, I mean, relatively exorbitantly priced. We expect it to be priced around 1 crore rupees when it does launch here. A little more expensive than the older M2 competition, but you get a manual. You get a manual, and it's just so much fun rowing through the gears, getting it into the right gear for the corner ahead. There's so much involvement. It's a special thing driving a manual, you know. When you get into the car itself, 3 pedals in front of you, a stick shift that wants you to use it. It's constant involvement, it's constant concentration. No longer are you just looking at your lines, adjusting your speed with the accelerator and the brakes and turning in. No, now you've got to get the engine spinning the way you want it to, which means when a hairpin comes up, shift down to second, get out of the hairpin, nice long straight, let that engine rev into third, back on the brakes, another corner up ahead, back down to second so you're not out of the power band. Oh, I could do this all day, I could do this all day. Man alive. The gearbox, it adds a layer of excitement to the driving experience, because you've got to think ahead. What does the car want in the next corner? What is it going to need 100 meters, 200 meters from now? You can't just slam the brake and expect the car to deal with it for you. You've got to do the work, and I love that. You're doing 100, 120 kilometers an hour through these corners over here, and you've got to get your hand off the steering wheel. This is your comfort zone, both hands on the wheel, right? But you've got to leave that comfort zone, get out, put your hand over here onto the stick and dial in a shift. My God, it's exhilarating. I could just go on and on and on for hours about the stick shift. It's a beautiful piece of machinery. The BMW M2, it also has an auto blipper. So if you dive into the menus, you have something called gear shift assist or something like that. And when that's on, it will blip the revs for you, which is brilliant because it just makes everything so much smoother. But if you want even more involvement, if you just want complete and utter control, turn it off and then you can heel toe. So get on the brakes, onto the accelerator and downshift. It's such a satisfying feeling when you get it right. Oh, this M2 is an animal. I haven't even gotten to the dynamics yet, but whew, the dynamics in this car are something else. Now, this is not the same platform as the M2 that is outgoing. This is a completely new platform. This is actually the platform of the M4 and M3, which has been shortened. The wheelbase is shortened for the M2. There have been some changes to deal with that shortening. So you've got staggered wheels, you've got 19s up front, you've got 20s in the rear. Compared to the M4, the front, it's a little stiffer. The rear, it's a little softer. That makes it a better car to drive, according to BMW. I wouldn't know. What I can tell you is that the dynamic ability, the poise of this car is phenomenal. Before I get to the dynamics, I want to stop and show you what sort of adjustability this car has, because it has a tremendous amount of adjustability in terms of the setup of the car right here in the screen. Let me just show you what that's like. Back to neutral. I love this. Right, so you get into the screen. To get to the setup, you've got to press the setup over here. When you press setup, it shows you all of your basically everything that you can control on the car. So you've got your engine, you've got your gear shift assistant, you've got chassis, steering, brake, all of that. There's a number of adjustable settings. You can actually even adjust the brake feel on this car. But that's not all. You can get into the traction control menu, so you press DSC. You can get into MDM mode, which is basically M dynamic mode. It allows a little bit of slip, but it will catch you before things get hairy. And there's DSC off, where you're completely on your own and, well, then have fun. When you apply DSC off, you get another setting. You get M traction control, which is essentially 10-stage traction control when the ESP is completely off. You can adjust it up to 1 or 0 to 10, depending on what you like, and that depends on how much slip angle you want when you do start drifting the M2. Another thing, so you've got two buttons on the steering wheel over here, M1, M2. Basically, they're quick access buttons to preset settings. So what I've done is I've kept M1 as a complete comfort setting. So engine in comfort, ride in comfort, steering in comfort, all of that. M2, I've kept hardcore, but ideal for our roads, you know. So the chassis is in Sport, not Sport Plus. The engine is in Sport Plus, and the rest of the car is in its more sportier setting. So that gives me a little bit of adjustability on the fly. So if I feel like, oh, there's a bad patch of road coming up ahead, I just quickly shift into M1 and I've got a comfort setup already set on the car. And the second the road opens up, shift into M2 and I've got a sport setup ready. These two buttons are super convenient, very different from stuff that Porsche, AMG is doing. You know, they've got the rotary dials on the steering wheel. BMW is not doing that. They've got easy access controls and an incredible amount of adjustability in the screen. So you set it up once and you're done. I'm talking about comfort. Now, this is a sporty car. This is a full-blown M car, right? But it actually doesn't ride too badly. So when you're taking it easy in the comfort setting, it actually has a firmness to it, obviously, but it will deal with our roads reasonably well. Potholes and stuff like that, you don't hear crash through them and you don't feel jolts up your spine. It takes it in its stride. Like here, pothole. There, you know, very composed over broken patches of road, potholes and stuff like that. The M2 has ride quality that has actually impressed me. I mean, you do have 19-inch wheels, 20s at the back, so these are large wheels, but despite that, despite the hint of firmness that they do deliver like that, you do feel a hint of firmness, but you can ride over everything without feeling incredibly uncomfortable. These seats help too. These are really comfortable, sporty seats. They hug you well, but they are cushioned well and you sink into them nicely. The highlight of the BMW M2 has to be its dynamics. I remember the old M2, such a darty little thing, a happy little puppy, and this one is no different. It's got so much composure on our roads. First of all, the steering, so direct, so immediate. You know, you turn the car in and instantly the front end has responded. Before you can even think, the front end is already there. And the level of grip, just, I'm fully leaning on the fronts over here, but they just hold on and on and on. The front end is massive, mega. You can really lean on it. And body control is phenomenal. So in comfort mode, obviously it is a little, you know, it jumps and bounces around a little bit, but it really absorbs the road reasonably well. You put it into sport and instantly tied down, hunkered down. You can feel the difference one corner to the next. You can feel how different it is. The steering, it feels more direct. There's feel, you can tell what's going on in the front end. The chassis, it kicks and bumps over the road a little bit more now, but you get much better body control. That vertical movement, it's not there anymore. Just stays slammed to the road. And that allows you to deploy the power with so much confidence. It's so capable. And then you can have fun with it. You know, you put it into MDM mode, step on the gas, and it will oversteer ever so slightly. Not enough to scare you, but just enough to let you have fun. It's so much fun. It's unreal what this M2 can do, how it makes you feel behind the wheel. Cars are supposed to do this, right? They're supposed to make you happy. They're supposed to make you feel good. And every time you get into the M2 is an occasion. Every single time you get into the M2, you feel special. And it's not a point and squirt car. It's not one of those big power but no cornering ability cars where you slow down for the corners and gingerly get through the corner and then slam on the accelerator. No, this is something that carries real speed through the corners. You need these side bolsters over here because you're getting flung around left to right. I don't think I've driven a car faster up the several roads. I've driven faster cars here, but few cars feel so dynamically competent, so appropriate for the road we're on. My God, this M2. Oh man, what a thing. What a thing. How do I summarize a car like the BMW M2? It is so much fun. It just puts a smile on your face. It's hard to be objective about cars like these, but let me try and make sense of it for you. If you are a driving enthusiast, this has to be on your consideration list for a number of reasons. One, manual transmission. The involvement that it offers is unparalleled. You sit in the car, you dip the clutch and you put it into first, and from that moment on, you are sucked in to the driving experience. Number two, it is legitimately fun. The engine is fun, the dynamics are fun. Every time you get into this car, you will have a smile on your face. Number three, it is actually usable. Ride quality, it isn't unbearable on our roads. The short wheelbase means it's actually usable on the daily, which means more time spent in the car. And number four, and this is the most important bit, they don't make him like this anymore. The BMW M2, it's ICE-powered, manual transmission, rear-wheel drive. Cars like these are a dying breed. Everything these days are going electric, they're going hybrid. These cars like the M2, they are perfection. They're not going to be around for too long anymore. So if you have the money for one, I fully recommend just go out and get one.